Kizamde, hop on the beat!
On December 20th, we finally received some news regarding the long-awaited Steel Ball Run anime adaptation, which was first properly announced back in April of last year. This time we got not only a trailer, but also the first confirmation of the anime's premiere date, which will be on March 19th, 2026. So in this video I want to go over everything we learned so far and share some of my thoughts. The trailer depicts the events from the beginning of the manga, showing us the first stage of the race. We see the opening ceremony and press conference, as well as Johnny's backstory and the first meeting with Gyro. The trailer goes through some of the other members of the race, giving us our first look at Sandman and Poco Loco in the anime. And it ends with the final moments of the first stage, with our 5 main racers coming to the finish line. I actually think I enjoyed this trailer a lot more than the last one. In my last video going over it, I had some concerns with the colors used and some movements looking stiff, but I actually think they showed off some better looking moments here that make me more optimistic. For our new characters, Sandman is voiced by Masaaki Mizunaka. I'm not familiar with any of his roles, but the clips of Sandman we hear I think portray his character's intensity pretty well. Poco Loco is voiced by Kenichiro Matsuda. He previously played Donovan in the Part 2 anime, although I mostly know him as the narrator and Bond in Spy Family. And like with Sandman, I think he captured the comedic essence of Poco Loco well, and it sounds like he'll be silly and entertaining, just like Poco Loco. The anime will premiere on March 19th on Netflix with a special 47-minute episode covering the first stage. Now, this does raise a question as to exactly how much we'll be getting, since I don't really think 47 minutes covers everything from that span of the manga. The first stage happens across the first 11 chapters of the manga, and a typical 23-minute episode of JoJo covers 3 or 4 chapters. Keep in mind that Steel Ball Run only started getting the longer monthly chapters later on. For these early arcs, it was weekly chapters around the same length as the ones that have been adapted before. This brings me back to a previous statement from the director Yasuhiro Kimura. There he said that some of the earlier chapters would be restructured, and he specifically mentions the opening scene of the manga that introduces Sandman. So I expect that something like that may be moved to be shown to us later in order to make the first stage fit. My main concern though is some of the less important scenes. For something like Sandman's story, that's essential to the plot and will definitely be shown to us at some point, if not at the beginning. But all the little moments from the beginning that could get cut would just be gone for sure. Stuff like the characters hanging out and preparing for the race, or the weird stuff like the opening ceremony with the mini horse march. When it comes to the actual race itself, I don't think they can cut out much, since each of the little scenes that happen here are actually somewhat important to how Stage 1 plays out. So I expect to see Avdol and most of Poco Loco's funny lucky moments. Now, the main question I'm left with from this announcement is what the rest of the anime will be like. So far, the only confirmation is that the anime will premiere on March 19th with the long episode, but we still don't know how many episodes the show will be, if there will be a split at some point like Stardust Crusaders, and if this is a weekly release like the old seasons or a batch release like Stone Ocean. I'm actually going to show some uncharacteristic optimism here and say that I believe this will be a weekly release. If the show were coming out in a batch in March, we would surely be told that. If we think back to the Stone Ocean anime, we learned about the release date and the fact that it would be dropping as a 12-episode batch as part of the same announcement. In this case, I don't think they would make such a big deal over the series premiering with the long episode if it was just going to have some more included. Another argument is that maybe the first episode will release on its own and then a batch will come out at some point later. I also don't think this is how they'll handle it, since none of the official announcements so far have indicated that this would be a standalone release. They all say that the series is premiering, so I do believe that the episodes will start to release weekly following the premiere, and I'll definitely be happier with that than I would be with batches again. Afterwards, Steel Ball Run also made an appearance at Jump Festa. I was holding off to see what happened there, but they turned out to not really announce anything, and it was just a stage event with some interviews with the new cast. However, if you go watch it, you can hear some full versions of the main theme playing in the background at points, which is nice. That's about everything new there is to cover. Overall, I'm optimistic about how the anime will turn out. And with everything we've seen so far only being from the first stage, that leaves a lot open to the future, which actually makes it pretty exciting. And besides that, the first stage is actually one of my favorite parts of the race because of its fast pacing. And I'm glad we won't have it split up into multiple episodes and we just get to see it from beginning to end. At the time of this video, there's only just over 2 months to wait until the episode releases. Once we get any more news, you can be sure that I'll be making a video to go over it. If you want to stay updated on my new videos, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. You can also join the Hum and Beat Discord using the link in the description. Finally, I'd appreciate if you help support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube member below. All supporters get their names featured at the end of the video and can submit viewer questions that I cover in my larger uploads. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Doorbell, Crayon, Rigovids, Zucato, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Sponge Cake, Kekext, Feliciano Rabaja, Rayana Meme, Christian McDonough, Pulse Dog, Rob Goliath, Jacob Smith, Big T, Gold, Red Hot Mayonnaise, Zenkai, Keenan, Perry, Saint Bobo, John Garcia, Crank and Plank, Puffin32, Fran Studios, Shin Megami Tensei Film Reviews, Griffiono, Fiddlehead, Justice, Jao Marchins, Danilo K, Star the Gunslinger, Mel, Aloval, Collie, Ridley Wanamaker, Javier's Milk, Billy the Corgi, and Joe Jogan.